So if you tell them, like, look them in the eye and say, it hurts me when you do this. When you're eating, that means it's open season for debate on what you should be eating, what you shouldn't be eating. Again, don't recommend this, but maybe you'll find your strength in this story.
So I'll come and climb up so high, reaching for a bite, yeah, because forbidden fruit is the sweetest kind.
Hey everyone, it's Eden. I'm back for another body positive video. I feel like I'm one of the few people still making body positive videos because the comments run everyone else away, but I don't give a shit. So I'm still going to talk about how fat people deserve fucking respect. Got it? Good. So today, with the holidays upon us, I wanted to talk a little bit about fat shaming by family, because I feel like the holiday season is when it comes out the most. It's because we have plates in front of us, right? When you're eating, that means it's open season for debate on what you should be eating, what you shouldn't be eating, and how to handle these things, and how to set boundaries in real life kind of ways, so that you're still respectful to your family, but that you really get the point across that your life, your health, your weight, one, they're not all connected, and two, they're not up for debate. So that's why I'm here. I am someone that has been fat shamed by my family my entire life. Mostly like my grandma and her twin and some of my aunts. They all gave input on my body for my entire life. And the first thing I want to say is, I know this is like controversial to a lot of people, but you can only be fat shamed if there is shame in your body. So if you're like to the point that I am in your self-love journey and you're very confident, things that other people say about your body aren't gonna affect you. You'll probably just, you know, shrug your shoulders and like brush it off. But sometimes family does need a little reminder that you're human, and just because they are your family, they're not able to say whatever they want to you. And this may not even relate to your body for some of you guys. Some of your family might have opinions about how you raise your children, or your spouse, or things that just are not their business. And sometimes you just have to set your family straight. So for this one, I'm gonna give a very long background, skip forward probably about 10 minutes if you want to skip all of this. So I am someone who has been fat my entire life. Like, I can only remember being thin up until I was about 6 years old, maybe 7 years old, and then from that point forward, I was fat. I was always thin. I stayed with my mom. We ate very healthfully. We still do eat very healthfully. But the first summer that I went to visit my grandma, she gave me snacks, like a lot of snacks, like more snacks than I'd ever seen, because my mom didn't buy snacks. She bought, like, raisins were my snack when I was with my mom, but my grandma bought Gushers and like the good snacks, you know. So in that summer, sorry, my phone is across the room and I'm not gonna go get it to turn it off. So I gained like 30 pounds in that summer, and I remember, this is in my body story on Do the Hot Pants, the website. I remember my grandma bringing me home to my mom, and my mom being like, what did you feed her over the summer? And my mom never really brought up my weight after that again. We just went back to eating the way that we always did, and it was never an issue. But I think my mom asking my grandma, like, what were you feeding her over the summer? And my grandma being like, oh yeah, a lot of sugary cereals, a lot of snacks, a lot of this, a lot of that, gave my grandma a lot of guilt. And she thought that the reason I was like broken, because that's how people view fat people a lot, like, we're broken, we failed, like, where there's something wrong. And she felt like it was her duty to fix me. So every summer when I'd go to visit my grandma, I remember being on these crazy, like, weight loss plans. And for a young child, you really should consult a doctor before putting a child on weight loss plans. So I remember in the morning I'd have like a cup of some kind of cereal. It was usually like the plain cornflakes, like cornflakes with skim milk. And then for lunch I'd have like a healthy choice meal usually, and then a little baggie of grapes, and you could have another fruit snack if you swam your laps that day. And then me and my cousin, it was both of us there, we'd work out like an hour and a half or so a day, and then we'd have another healthy choice meal for dinner. So probably around 1,300 calories, which is what like a 5-year-old should eat, not someone that's like on their way entering puberty. And I was also taking diet pills, which you should be 18 or older to take diet pills. You should not be taking diet pills when you're 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. And back then, diet pills still had, I took hydroxycut, and they still had ephedra in it, and that was later outlawed. When I was probably around 18, the FDA pulled that from the shelves because the ephedra was killing people. So I'd have like lots of times with like my heart racing and not really understanding why I was on such a restrictive diet, because I didn't feel like anything was wrong with me. I've always said that, like I never felt like fat was wrong growing up ever. And I was in swim lessons, I was in gymnastics, and I remember going to get swimsuit for swim lesson and my little cousin getting to get a bikini. And I wanted the matching bikini, and I'm gonna get this bikini made next year because I really want it. It was a sunflower print bikini, because sunflowers are my favorite flowers. And my grandma goes, no, you have to get the one piece. And I said, why? She goes, because you have to be 100 pounds or under to wear a bikini. So it automatically made me think, even though they had it in my size, you have to be thin in order to wear this thing. So it was like I was always punished for being bigger when I was younger by my grandparents and one of my aunts. So I remember my grandma, she's a nurse, so she worked, and one of her friends was babysitting me, and she sent along my healthy choice meal, you know. And I've always been super interested in cooking. So I always watched a lot of cooking shows and stuff like that. And I remember her name was Frances. She was cooking spaghetti. And she used a bay leaf. And I was like, why are you putting, what is that? Why is it dry? Because I'd seen herbs before, but I hadn't seen like dried whole bay leaves before. And so she let me smell it and kind of crunch on it, and I was like, oh, it tastes weird. But she's like, wait, but once it's cooked in the sauce, you're really gonna love it. So I remember her making me like a tiny little cup, you know, like it was like one of those dishes that you cook sauce out of. And I guess my grandma was very clear in communicating to her that I was only to have my healthy choice meal, as if I had ever like displayed behavior of like overeating or like anything crazy. So she'd have to communicate this, but this is my grandmother's mind, right? So Frances made me this tiny little thing of the spaghetti so that I could taste the bay leaf, and she's like explaining the notes and stuff. And when my grandma got there, she innocently told her like, she's really interested in cooking, and we used some bay leaves, and I let her have a little bit. And my grandma blew up on me as soon as we left the house. She like grabbed my arm and she's like, how dare you eat 2 meals? That is so embarrassing. How embarrassed do you think I am that you ate 2 meals? And just all this stuff. It was a long time ago. I can't remember all of it, but like it sticks with me. I remember that one thing. So it's just setting up a background for when I finally set my boundaries. Hi, Nicole. Nicole's being nuts. So years passed. Eventually things got kind of like tumultuous with my grandma, so I went and stayed with my Aunt Beverly for the rest of the summer, and then I didn't come back to Texas for a few summers until I moved here when I was 18 years old. At this point, my grandma and my grandpa had separated, and I was living with my grandpa, and then my grandma decided to move back in. So we went down to my aunt's house, and we were moving her stuff. Well, they were moving her stuff. I came with. I just didn't really like some of the things that had gone on, so I didn't really want to help her move back. So she said something along the lines of, oh, too fat to move boxes or something. And at this point, like I said, I was 18, so it had been a long time since childhood, and her like always saying stuff about my weight or trying to punish me because of my weight. And I've talked a lot. I'm rubbing my dog right now. Come here. Say hi. Hello. Hi. Hi, Nico. She loves attention. So, I've talked about how it's kind of a hothead. So this is not how I recommend setting boundaries with your family, but this definitely worked for me. So she said that comment and I said, what did you say? And she said, you heard me, like really black grandma sassy. And she was walking into the house and I stepped in front of her. Real confrontational like, and again, don't recommend this. But maybe you'll find your strength in this story. So parents, family members, they're not perfect. So I brought up every imperfection about her, about past failed marriages, about times that I felt like she wasn't there for me or my mom or whatever it was. And I saw the look on her face and I said, how does it feel? Remember that the next time you disrespect me. And she shoved me. And then she went and called my mom and told my mom about it. And she's like screaming about her disrespectful daughter and how I'm such a biatch and whatever, which in that moment, I definitely was a biatch, but I felt like it was granted. And my mom, which I expected my mom to be really upset because, you know, she doesn't raise you to curse or whatever at your elders. And my mom says, I raised my child and I know she's not going to disrespect you for no reason. And I was just so happy that my mom stood up for me because she always has, you know. My mom's always stood up for me. She definitely wouldn't stand for like cursing or any of that stuff. And she's like, I don't like the way that she talked to you, but there's no way that she would ever say any of that stuff without a reason. You had to have done something. And from that day forward, my grandma has never said anything about my weight ever again. It's a topic that's completely avoided. She'll tell me that I look nice. She'll give me a hug. She'll, instead of saying fat, she'll say, you look healthy. But she's not rude and like derogatory about my weight the way that she used to be. And I definitely regret the way that I approached it. But in that moment, it was just like such a buildup from like all of the past years that I don't think anything else would have made her stop. And but although my actions aren't something I recommend for setting boundaries, my words are. And not the bringing up things about, you know, family members or anything like that, but just telling them, hey, I think that's disrespectful. And if they say, like, a lot of the time my family will be like, well, it's true, you are fat. And I'm like, I don't care if it's true or not. If I tell you I don't like something, don't do it. Like, and that should be the beginning and the end of a situation. If they're saying, oh, you got a lot on your plate, I don't like when you comment on how much I eat. I'm not talking about how much you eat, so don't talk about how much I eat. So I think setting boundaries is really, one, not letting it build up, because I think that was my problem, letting it build up. Don't let things build up. Make sure you address them right when they happen. Do it from a place of kindness and try to use examples as you can, if you can. So if it's your family, I don't talk about your relationship, so I'd appreciate it if you don't talk about my relationship if someone's talking about your relationship. Or I don't tell you how to raise your kids or discipline your kids, so please don't tell me how to discipline mine or raise mine. I think it's disrespectful. I don't talk about your body. I'm sure that you don't think your body's perfect, so I don't need you to talk about mine. I know my situation, I know my health, I know how I feel, and I'll address things as I feel necessary. I don't need you to do them for me. And I know it's hard for family because they always think that they're coming from a place of love, and they show love in the best ways that they can. Sometimes they're being malicious, but sometimes they're honestly oblivious to the fact that it's hurting you. So I think we have to realize that people can't read our minds. They don't know if you're hurt. They don't know if you feel disrespected or if you feel ashamed or if it makes you feel bad. And maybe it's not like you feel disrespected like me. I'm like, respect me. But maybe you tell your parent, like, it hurts me when you say that, and your family doesn't want to see you hurting. So if you tell them, like, look them in the eye and say, it hurts me when you do this, will you please stop? Like, it doesn't even have to be a big confrontational thing. Like, you can pull them aside and tell them how you're feeling. However you're feeling, your feelings are valid, and as your family, they should be open to receiving that. And that should be the beginning and the end of it. You know, sometimes I've gone a while without talking to family, and maybe we needed that break for them to understand that I was really serious about what I was saying, whatever the situation may be. Like, I've had little fallouts with family about like what kind of school I wanted to go to, if I wanted to go to school at all, the type of job I decided to have. Like, people always want this super input on your life, but setting boundaries is super important, and it always should just come from a place of honesty and a place of like wanting the best relationship, and the best relationships come through effective communication. So I know it's scary. I know that it's hard. I remember one of my aunts, the last year that she was living, my dad had a plate, and she goes, look at that plate. That's why he's so big. And like, if she would have said that to me, I would have been like, don't say that ever again. But my dad just laughed it off, you know? So it's different for different people how you handle things. And maybe sometimes you do laugh it off and it's just not worth the battle. I know this video is kind of all over the place, but sometimes like it's not worth the battle. Like, picking your battles with families is important too. Little things sometimes you can brush off, but the things that are really important to you are worth you talking about them and having people hear you out about them. So that's my story about like kind of my past family history on body shaming, how I got to a point where me and my grandma, I love her. We talk on the phone all the time now. I'm named after her. You know, we've had a rocky relationship, but you can really get past this stuff, and I have really the best relationship I've had with her in a very, very long time. Even after all of our history, she really understands like what's important to me. And if your family loves you, even if they say like these shaming things are coming from a place of love, if they really love you, they know that you know everything that they're saying. They know that you know that you're fat. You don't need them to say it. If you feel that you're unhealthy, like, you know that. Or if they're saying you're unhealthy and you're not, you know that. So you already know the answer to everything that they're saying. So it really takes the need of them saying it away whatsoever. So I hope that this helped and like gave you a little bit of faith that if you have had past struggles with family and body shaming, that like me and my grandma, you really can get past it, even if it's like a really deep-rooted history. And that it doesn't have to be a big scary thing. It can be just like a few sentences, and most of the time your family's not going to throw like a big to-do about it and be like, no, if I want to call you fat, I'm going to keep calling you fat. Usually they're just going to be like, okay, you know. And especially if you give those examples like, I don't do this to you, so why do you think it's appropriate to do to me? And if it's like, I care about you, well, if you cared about me, you wouldn't say things that I don't like. Like, it's that simple. And yeah, I get a lot of messages about this thing specifically on Instagram, so I thought that I'd do a whole video on my experience with it. And I hope that it helps some of you guys out there. But yeah, until next time, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to keep an open mind, keep an open heart, practice unconditional compassion, but don't take shit from anyone. I love you guys. That includes family. I love you guys endlessly, and I hope you love yourselves even more. I'll talk to you really soon. Bye.